Hey everybody, how's it going? Nick, Brandon, and Barrett here. Real quick. It says this is there an error on Twitch, Brandon?
I don't know.
I'm looking over at Twitch from my account. It says error. Let me just refresh it and see if it fixes it. The chat will have to forgive us. There we
Doesn't
go.
flash on me.
All right, let me mute it. All right, let's try that again. Nick, Brandon, and Barrett here, also known as Amongst Friends podcast. Hope everybody's doing well. We got a cool session today. We're going to be talking about the PlayStation State of Play that happened. What was it? 2 days ago now?
No,
It was
yesterday.
yesterday.
Was it yesterday? Gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll be kind of just talking about feelings and thoughts on the different announcements and trailers and whatnot. Barrett's got the breakdown of what was announced, and we're just gonna kind of jump into it. So feel free to comment, let us know your thoughts, and hope you'll enjoy the session.
Thanks for joining, Lucas.
Hey,
Oh, cool, Lucas, what's
what's
up,
up,
man?
Lucas?
Cool. All right. So, Barrett, what is the first topic from State of Play for us to chew into?
Yeah, the first game they announced was Helldivers, Helldivers 2. I didn't play a lot of the first game. I know I was talking to my friend Noah last night, and he was really hyped up about there being a second one. But it's a third-person shooter type. Like it almost looks like ODSTs from Halo, like dropping in and just doing like gun 'em up missions. It definitely looked like a cool like multiplayer game that's not going to be like a full, AAA price. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Then you go first.
It looked interesting. I think some of the character design looked a little bit like Destiny,
Bland.
but yeah, like bland Destiny, but
Bland Destiny.
which is a comment in itself. But yeah, I know it could be good, but it's not one I'm really excited for. I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be a running theme for me on these first like 6, 7 games. So 5 or 6 games where it's just like,
Yeah, it like Lucas said in the chat, it could be good. I bet it will be. I bet it'll be good, but yeah, it looks so generic. Honestly, I'd have like no interest in it if it didn't have. I'm sorry, I'd have no interest in it if it didn't have like PlayStation slapped on it. So I'm like, okay, this is probably gonna be good because they're producing it. But yeah, I'm skeptical. It's not one I'll buy day one, so I'm betting it'll come to PlayStation Plus and we'll jump on it. It'll be fun, but that's really the extent of my thoughts on it.
my notes for it, or I've got it wrote down. It looks like a cool budget multiplayer game. Like,
Yep.
Once it's cheap or free, it might be fun to play, but I don't know if I would get it right off the gate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those that would be built around like being with friends. Like
hmm Yeah,
it's like
sometimes I can save a shitty game.
yeah.
Yeah, that about covers it.
Yeah, that's about it
me.
for that. Next up, though, I'm excited to hear what you guys think about this one because
Okay.
the Stellar Blade. It's like an anime, like Final Fantasy ripoff kind of looking game. That's not gonna be a negative way of putting it. It definitely looked flashy in the battle segments that were like super Final Fantasy, hack and slashy, but and metallic bodysuits that were just absolutely ridiculous. Just a over sexualized main character that's saving the world. What do you guys think about that one?
Go ahead.
I'll go. I thought it looked really good. I've been following that one for a while. I think it looks like a mixture of like Bayonetta, Devil May Cry. It doesn't really look like it's doing anything new. The graphics look great.
Mhm.
It looks really high quality, so I'm eager to play it.
Yeah.
That being said, thank God there's some other outfits you can put on the characters because, like, I mean, how do you play a game like in a dignified way, like with your wife
What-
and kids in the room, like, and then the jiggle physics. For God's sake, I was like, you got to be kidding me! Like, this is the most technologically advanced thing I think I've ever seen on PlayStation 5.
Groundbreaking.
It was state of the art. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So yeah, no, I look forward to like searching out like where to get like a parka or something in the game. So it just doesn't feel awkward to play it. But yeah, it looks like Bayonetta. And like the high fantasy stuff, but it looks like super high quality. So I think it'll be good, but we'll see.
Yeah, I
My
mean,
thoughts were it looked like DOA meets Final Fantasy.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
yeah, it definitely, like, even to the point where I know you don't really handle upgrades at the different like rest stations, but like the way they showed the vending machine and stuff definitely felt like Final Fantasy VII remake. I mean,
Hmm.
that's probably just more recency bias since that's what I've been playing, but yeah, there's
It made me think of it.
definitely it was definitely like my first thought was like Final Fantasy and Near and but yeah, I mean it looks fun, but it didn't look like there was anything that stood out as being new or innovative. And I think for me overall, like this state of play probably got that same vibe where like nothing really stood out as far as maybe a few small things here and there, but nothing really stood out in the sense that it's going to be like this year is going to be a big year overall. Like there's nothing that's going to be a pillar, so to speak, get to like going forward. Like it seems kind of like a rest period for PlayStation in a way.
Hmm. Um, my notes I put it's got look like decent gameplay. I thought
Yeah.
it was interesting that two of the main characters' names were Adam and Eve. So like and how like I mean just like how I wonder how deep that rabbit hole is gonna go. Um, that was very Final Fantasy 16 and 7 remake. Like both of those games, combat and like even world textures and all, just looked very much like you're running around either Midgar or
Yeah.
like the Hideaway. Um, yeah, there's a few of the games that have like um, like, for example, like whenever like after the trailer, it shows the game developer, and as soon as I saw him, I went, ah.
Good point.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
if they would have shown that for a few of the other games, I would have been like, yeah, well, that makes sense. Brandy called out your comment about jiggle physics, and I think that's also hilarious.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I was like,
It was absolutely ridiculous.
Of the
I was
three
like,
of us, I'm probably the least bothered by that part of it, but there is a point where it's too much.
Well, whenever like
uh,
all the other characters, the only one that was like, straight up spandex, like ridiculously shiny metallic spandex is your main character, and the other characters kind of look like, they could be in a Final Fantasy game almost. And then you've got Bayonetta front and center, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not trying to knock it. It does look like it's got cool gameplay. It's for a certain crowd, for
Well,
sure.
well, I mean, even Final Fantasy has its eye
Oh
candy,
yeah,
but at the same time, like compared to that, like Tifa was
yeah,
modest compared to that.
oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
We're not
Good
gonna bring her into
comparison.
this.
No, I tell you what, the creature design I thought was great. Like, there's like one creature that looked like its like head was a hand or something, but it had like the body of like some demonic
Yeah,
giant.
yeah. It looked like like I don't know, it looked crazy. I know what you're talking about.
One thing did trigger me that I forgot to mention was, Brandon, you mentioned like the upgrade stations or whatever, or the areas where you upgrade your skill tree. And I saw they had you unlock the double jump.
Yeah.
And I've got extreme bias over any game that makes you unlock the double jump. I'm just like, maybe they should have you unlock like being able to walk too while you're at it. Like double jump is like so critical for like good gameplay, in my opinion. If it's gonna be in
Don't
there, it's like just unlock it. Don't make me earn like 1,000 skill points to go unlock
Well,
the
it
double
better
jump.
be like the first thing you unlock, because if it's not, then it's really going to be like egregious.
Yeah,
don't make me start
exactly. It's
shit
like,
talking Kingdom Hearts again.
oh man, I'm hoping we can get there. That's my favorite version of Barrett is shit talking Kingdom Hearts hating. It's so funny, dude. I've never felt as strong about anything in my life as you do about how you feel about Kingdom Hearts now. But anyway, moving on. What's next?
Uh, Next was a pretty kind of exciting one. Sonic and Shadow Generations. I like that just because it's bringing my boy back to the front that I've not seen in way too long. Not seen a game featuring him for I don't know. I haven't kept up with all the Sonic games, but he I mean he hasn't gotten a straight up feature since the GameCube game. At least not in
Well,
a title. So
I think the way you said that kind of sums up the problem, though, is like you haven't kept up with all of them. Because I
yeah.
think to some degree there's too many, and the direction's not really like
I mean it's
clear.
Sonic games. I don't
Yeah.
how much direction can you really have for it? It just sucks that they have like a renowned cool character that obviously everyone wants. And
Well, I
I
mean,
haven't seen the second Sonic movie, but I've heard about things. So like I don't really know where that goes, but like
the movie, both of the movies have been good, but I guess when it comes to direction, like compared to something like Mario, where yeah, there might
mhm,
be a million Mario games, but like they know what they're doing, and
mhm,
like Sonic seems like there's a lot of hits and a lot of misses, and
lots of misses.
I think that's been
Well, it's
my
going back to the roots of Sonic is what it looks like.
yeah
It looked like it did more of a classic and modern version of the classic in this, which kind of got me excited for it, but I don't know that it's going to be a game I'm going to drop $60 on or
oh
whatever
yeah
the price point is whenever it comes out. Like it definitely like those kind of games don't warrant that value to me. Like it's exciting because it was a fun part of my childhood, but like I would wait until it was on a sale or I happened across it or whatever to play it.
yeah
But
yeah it definitely did seem like there was like a return to roots, but at the same time, like
mm,
I think the last Sonic game I played was Forces, and there was some of that in there too, which I didn't like, and
yeah.
it pains me a little bit because I feel like I'm an OG Sonic guy. Like when I was a kid, the very first system that I ever owned was a Genesis, and so like my brother had Super Nintendo, I had the Genesis, so like Sonic was my guy, and then I don't know, just over the years, the idea of playing Sonic's always been better than actually doing it, and I don't know. I hope it's good
That
though
hits deep.
because I do like to see I do like seeing Shadow back, but yeah, so I'll definitely keep my eye out on it. But it like you said,
Mm.
it'll definitely be something I catch on sale if I do.
It struck me as something that almost looked like it could be an expansion to something that already existed that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah,
Like that's almost what I thought it was. I was like, oh, okay, they're adding Shadow to like a game that is already out or something because it does look like they've already released this game and like now there's like a expansion. But
and I
They did
uh,
though. There is a Sonic Generations.
oh, there
That
is.
that yeah, I'm looking. I had to make sure. Oh wait, maybe there's not. There was a game called Sonic Generations that came out on Xbox 360 and PS3.
yeah, it's
So
been a while.
it looks like this is a modernized, updated version with the Shadow DLC or whatever you want to call it. So
Okay.
you're on the money with that guess.
Yeah, that's what I knew. It had a feeling like that. It did because it didn't seem like they were really like showcasing a new Sonic game. It's like they were
Yeah.
showcasing like, oh, Sonic showed up.
Yeah.
um,
I missed the Sonic wagon. I never had a Sega or stuff, so I'm just kind of indifferent at best towards it. But put it in context of the state of play, I could have cared less.
yeah,
As soon as I showed it. Now, if they'd showed some like super state of the art, Breath of the Wild, Sonic the Hedgehog type game, I would have been like, oh, cool, this looks
Shadow
neat.
the
But
Hedgehog remake.
yeah, something
Make it
out
happen.
there. But yeah, not too many thoughts on that one.
Well, we'll move on. The next one, I had a hard time finding out what the actual name of the game is and cared even less to research. But the first words that came up were like Hoyoverse or Holoverse.
I don't even know what you're talking about. See what this.
So
I my notes just say another one for the weebs. I couldn't figure out.
so
I couldn't figure out what it was called.
I'm pretty sure that's
Right.
the same team that made Genshin Impact, and it seems like it's going to be more of a ARPG instead of an MMO.
Okay.
But look, I think gameplay wise,
Oh,
it's going to be similar though.
is this the Zoneless Zone Zero? Is
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Another one
That
for the
cracked me
weebs.
up.
I like that.
Yeah.
Um, I thought I was just trying to figure out what it was. Like I was
Yeah.
like, because it looks like um a really graphically impressive like 3DS game or something. Like I almost thought I was looking at like Pokemon. God, what were the ones on DS that were really good? X and Y or something like that for a second. And
On
the
the
character
moon or
models
something.
look like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it just looks like a super generic JRPG action title, and I probably have played 10 games just like it. So I was kind of curious
Well,
to
they've
see like
they've
why
made
did why did
like
this get featured?
that
Yeah.
that team's made like 4 or 5 games in the past 4 or 5 years, and they all look
I
like
believe
that.
it.
So
Okay,
Mm.
fair enough. Yeah, I didn't care overall
Moving on.
about it.
Foam Stars. Um, Another one that didn't really stand out to me. I have wrote down that this is a party game for weebs.
party.
Um, I just
It was a weeb heavy episode, so we can talk about
Mhm.
that later.
I almost felt like I was scrolling through the Nintendo eShop while I was watching it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I imagine y'all don't have a lot to say about that either,
No.
right? I have
Yeah,
to like linger on that.
that warrants its own conversation. We can come back to it.
Then we've got Dave the Diver with like a Godzilla expansion, I guess. I don't know if that's a game that already exists or whatever. It looked like it could be kind
Yeah.
of a neat game, but
Yeah, the Godzilla is like an expansion or something to it. It's one that I've heard a lot of good stuff about it. Um, but I think for me personally, it just kind of came at the wrong time because if this would have been about a year and a half ago, like I'd been all in on it because I went normally like when I go through games, like I'll go through like certain phases of playing a certain type of game, and about a year and a half ago, I went through like Limbo, Donut County, Unpacking, What Remains, like just a bunch of indie games. And if it would have come around about that time, I'd have been all for it. But it definitely looks interesting, but it's one of those that it'd probably have to be on Game Pass or something for me to try it out,
mhm.
sadly. Not that I mean, it's definitely one that I want to, but like I was telling Nick before we started recording, like my backlog already, like the next 2 or 3 months is already loaded up. Like I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to fit anything else in right now.
And thick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave the Diver, I heard about it. I want to say like there was some awards he got nominated for last year, but
Yeah.
maybe I'm just in a negative state of mind or something. But sometimes they put these trailers on and I'm like, it's like the most indie game, like by design that you can imagine, just with like intentionally low res graphics and stuff. And you're like, okay, cool. For me, it's kind of got to go down the pixel art path. But I don't know. It seems like it's popular, so might check it out. But back to Foam Stars, I will say I will. That does sound a little interesting to me for two reasons. One, it's free if you have PlayStation Plus. So,
Okay.
and like on day one release, and it is a multi-console game. And two is it's supposed to play like Splatoon on Switch. I don't know if y'all played Splatoon, but that makes me curious enough to try it. That was a really fun game. So, yeah, we'll see. Overall, I wouldn't touch it if it wasn't going to be free. But it could be fun, so we'll see.
Knowing it's free, that opens my mind up a little bit to it. It definitely didn't seem like it, but if it's like one of those things that, hey, everybody's trying this out, let's give it a shot, I'm down.
Yeah.
Definitely down to give it a shot.
Yeah.
After that, there was V Rising. This one I was like surprisingly interested in because it looked like a Diablo Souls game. Like the world of Dark Souls, and you're running around like Diablo style with the top down dungeon crawler kind of looking game. The combat and some of the designs look kind of cool. Interesting, but I mean, it depends on the price point and the timing of when it comes out. Look kind of neat. No thoughts. No
I've
thoughts on that one from either.
I haven't seen much of it. I know it's a sequel, right? Like it's the second one, I
Yeah,
think.
maybe.
But yeah, it looked
Yeah,
fun.
I'm not sure about what it is. I just, at a glance, watching the trailer one time, I was like, this looks kind of neat. It definitely like fully outshined everything before it, which wasn't a hard thing to do at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
indifferent towards it, but we'll see.
well, after that was my first favorite announcement. Silent Hill, the short message. Um, I'll go ahead and lay out the elephant in the room that it definitely looks like PT's predecessor. Like, we're not going to acknowledge that that ever happened. We're just going to create something small and contained that has the spirit of that. Because I mean, it's also funny in the trajectory of this announcement how the rest of the show went with how it ended, especially.
Yeah.
But definitely very excited for that. I've got it downloaded and ready to play. I think we agreed that we'll stream it on Sunday, so we're going to stream my first playthrough of it on Sunday. But yeah, I'm curious to know what you guys think about that. I know Nick, you played it a little bit, so I would like to hear some first thoughts. Spoilerless as possible.
It's only 2 hours long, so
That's
we
good to know.
might be able to do the whole thing.
That'd
That'd
be
be cool.
nice. Well, I won't say too much about it. I didn't get very far. I didn't even get past. It did say chapter one, so I was like, oh, there's multiple chapters, so this might be a little bit more meat of a game than I thought. So, yeah. Well, just the announcement itself, I was like really excited about. Like Silent Hill, I think we talked about this maybe in a previous session or just a chat, but really is like I really like the Silent Hill movie. And I've always wanted to play the games. It's just they were already so far past me by the time I was in a position to buy them or check them out. So I'm really excited with all this Silent Hill news. But yeah, I'll hold off my thoughts on on what I played until we can mess with it when you do the playthrough. But yeah, I thought it was awesome that it was free.
And
I think it's
immediately,
cool. Yeah, immediately. Like
Basically,
I'm a
just
sucker for
that
those.
is
Yeah. Look under your
you got
chair.
me.
Yeah, like you had. I was like, even if it's like if it turns out it's good or not, it's like, hey, you know what? It's
Yeah.
free. Um, and
Other game developers should take notes from that. Like, I hope
yeah,
that gets a good out. Like, those things need to get better responses so that people release things like that more often, even
agreed.
if it's just a taste.
Yeah, and I think what I like about how I won't say just PlayStation, but when any like console maker or publisher does something and releases it for free like that, like they know it's an investment. It's like you think like, oh,
Mhm.
how are they releasing this for free? They're not getting any money for it, but they know they're like building interest and they're getting people who haven't been familiar with Silent Hill in a long time to get interested. And there's probably going to be a game that's getting developed that's in the style of that PT-ish build.
Mhm.
The only thing I will say about playing it, which you picked up from the trailer, was it does have huge PT vibes, but there's a lot more like characterization and narration that kind of like what's happening, what the characters are going through. So I'm interested to see how it ends. But yeah, thought it was an awesome announcement because I was just hoping for some news on Silent Hill 2, which I'm sure we'll get to next. But yeah, pretty cool, pretty exciting.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems like the character's like relatable, like with the phone always in the hand, phone's always in her hand and every scene of it, and she's like freaking out and going through like mental issues. The
Yeah.
game even has like a disclaimer whenever you open it up
Yeah, I saw
about
that.
all that, which is like really interesting. So I didn't mean to cut you off, Brandon. I just like,
No, no, you're good.
uh,
I was just gonna say, I mean, as far as like releasing it like right now, like or as soon as the event's over, I will say like Nintendo's probably the best about that because if you watch a
mhm.
direct, like a Nintendo direct, there's like whether it's DLC or something, there's usually like 4 or 5 different things, and it's like, oh, it'll be live as soon as the event's over or something. But but
Mhm.
as far as Silent Hill goes, I mean, it's kind of hard. Like once you start showing like scenes of somebody walking down a hallway, it's kind of hard not to get those PT vibes. It definitely looked really interesting. And the one thing I'll say though is I'm not I'm just it was kind of unclear or kind of a little confusing exactly how it fit with Silent Hill 2 remake or even if it did. Like it was just like, oh, here's this cuz at first I don't it until like the guy came on screen and announced that it was going to be available, like it didn't really seem like it was going to be something that was like short or like that they were putting out there like that. But yeah, I think it was just unsure like if it is connected to something else or if there's something more coming or because
I have thoughts.
this could very well be just um like a demo or back before back before Metal Gear Solid 5, they did the Ground Zeroes, like where it
Yeah,
was, a few hours long. Could be something like that, and may not even be related to Silent Hill 2. Could just be its own standalone thing. But I'm definitely curious to see some gameplay and see where they go from there.
Um, I I think that this is just my thoughts because I followed the controversy behind PT and Hideo Kojima and all that stuff decently close whenever it was going on. And if you notice, like they haven't announced anything new for Silent Hill since that. Like
No.
that was a falling off point, and I think that they wouldn't be able to introduce a new property without doing something with that style because it was so popular. Like if they just announced Silent Hill 2, like the remake, and didn't announce anything else, I think there could potentially have been like just make PT. Like there's going to be so many people that are just like just make PT. So them doing both is like them saying like, hey, here's a little taste of something that might make you think about something that you probably played before and you like, or if you don't know anything about it, this is it's actually called Silent Hill. It's not as obscure. And then they announce a remake following that of one of most people's most beloved Silent Hill game. So I felt like it paired well with the announcement of Silent Hill 2 remake, because it kind of makes sense for them to follow in the footsteps of Resident Evil, because those games are different, but also at the same time pretty similar. And like they're the same generation, similar like shitty camera angle gameplay. But I personally liked how they had paired a demo of a game like that, makes you strong PT vibes, and then they're like, and here's the Silent Hill announcement, where that if a short message is actually good and gets people talking, I'm sure they'll do more with it, or try to do more with it. But the whole thing with Kojima getting fired from Konami really dampened a lot of things. It's like one of the only few that has such a history for so many PlayStation players playing that game and then it being unavailable, and now 90% of us that had it at one point don't have it anymore and can't play it ever again. You can only enjoy it through watching a video online.
Yeah.
Personally,
How crazy is
I remember,
that?
it's insane.
Why would they even do that? What did he do? Did he murder someone's kids at Konami?
You would
I've
think
never.
so.
The way they acted was it just doesn't make any sense. You're what could he have done besides be really disrespectful, maybe arrogant? Who knows? But I'm what more than that could this guy have done to warrant where they just wanted to erase Kojima from Konami, to the point where we're not even gonna let anyone play, this game. I don't know.
Yeah, and we're
So
taking your
weird.
game away too, since that's never going to happen.
It's made me run conspiracies in my head of why did they rarely fire him? It just seems so wild.
It would be
Because
a
they
great
didn't
documentary.
Do you remember though? Sorry to get on a tear on this, but you're bringing back all these memories. But do you remember that there was a game award that year for Metal Gear Solid 5, and Konami didn't let Hideo Kojima go and accept it at the Game Awards. There's a video. I'll send you the video. There's a video of Jeff Keighley going, "Hey, Hideo Kojima won this award, but Konami wouldn't allow him to come in the show and represent the acceptance of the reward." And he literally, Jeff Keighley says, "Shame on Konami for that. That's just ridiculous," and stuff. So it got to that point to where they were just pissed at him. So anyway, I'll send you the clip sometime. But I was just what in the world did he do? But yeah, sorry.
From what I remember, I know there were reports of when he was making Metal Gear Solid 5, he went way over budget on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that I know of. But I'm sure there's more behind the scenes.
There definitely needs to be a documentary about the rise and fall of Silent Hills.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
this game definitely feels like I don't necessarily know. I don't know if it's more of a successor or if it's a replacement, because some of those vibes it gave off of PT could have been reused for all we know. It could have been retextured and oh, we're going to just use this for something else. Because I'm sure there's some of that with Kojima connected to it. There's probably some of it they couldn't reuse, whether it was due to creative rights or something. But it's we're going to find a way to reuse this or make something of it. But
how weird is it that it's a? Sorry to interrupt you.
No. Go ahead.
I was say, how weird is it that it's literally feels like a playable teaser, right? That's what PT stood for. So it's hey, we're gonna release another brief first-person kind of semi-walking simulator horror experience. Which you're right. It's an absolute nod to PT without really having anything to do with it on paper, So it's just strange. It's just Konami is just a little weird with how they handle these things. But I thought it was cool, and it's weird. Which interests you. I don't know if y'all caught it was when they announced it. They said this is something we PlayStation have been working on with Konami for a while. I was like, that's interesting, right? Like they're working on them with it, and I'd heard rumors that PlayStation was in talks at one point to buy Konami. So obviously nothing came of that, but also they're doing these exclusive projects, kind of like they do with Square Enix, right? Like Final Fantasy 16 and 7 remake and stuff. So it just shows that there's like some interesting relationships between PlayStation, like, and the Japanese game companies when they do these things. So I don't know how all that works, but it certainly makes me curious. Just
I'm
something I
a
noticed.
I'm curious how they're gonna structure this too. Like just to keep it on like Kojima real quick. I mean, I know we'll talk about Death
Mm-hmm.
Stranding later on, but he's working on that game, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever they announced after that, it didn't seem very clear. But whatever they announced after that was going to be another game. But that's not even
Yeah.
that's not even counting the Xbox exclusive game that he's working on too. There's like
Yeah.
I think it's called like OD or something.
Yep.
But so I mean, whatever it was, like we'll talk about it later. But whatever he's working on, like we're probably like 10 years out before we even see what's coming up afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of combined a little bit of the Silent Hill talk, but Silent Hill 2 was the next announcement,
Yeah.
Which I thought looked really good. I'm pretty excited for that.
Me too.
It's like I think I've said it before in a previous session. Like I've got like a light relation with Silent Hill. Like I've always admired the games. I've played through a little bit of Silent Hill 2, Homecoming on the 360. I've played them here and there, but I've never completed one. So it'll be fun to actually be able to go through and experience Silent Hill 2 in hopefully a honorable way. Hopefully it's, honors the original.
Speaking of, I mean, yeah, like the instant I saw was like, I mean, I already know the gameplay is like somewhat similar, but it was definitely like, oh, they were really successful with remaking Resident Evil. Like, let's
Yeah.
do this. But
Yeah, it definitely looks like that.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm
Which
kind
is
of
a good thing, right?
But it's a series that needs it, to be honest. If they're over here doing this, it's a good way to compete, and
but I'm kind of
I'm not against
curious.
it.
I'm just curious why, outside of probably two being the more popular game, I'm curious why they didn't do one. I don't.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I've heard some thoughts about that too. It is interesting that they would start with two, but I think that's exactly it. Maybe it is the more beloved game. It's just, maybe they'll go back and do it. Maybe it's just more to work with, like from
Yeah,
creature design, story. I don't know, but it is interesting that they would do it because, like, who remembers? I don't even know what took place in Silent Hill 1.
yeah,
Um,
Hmm.
but I'm super excited for it. For that very reason, is it visually looks just so eerie and atmospheric. I'm like totally down for that. And then, like, I've loved the Resident Evil remakes, and while it feels like, yeah, they're just trying to get on that wagon, I mean, those, if it's on par with the remakes, then it's going to be awesome because those remakes have been excellent. Like, I
yeah.
thought 2, 3, and 4 have been just awesome. So yeah, I'm really excited for it. And then, it's a PlayStation exclusive, so that kind of hopefully guarantees that it's going to get a lot of really good features with, the haptics on the controller and all the cool bells and whistles that does. I mean, it makes me, to me, it's usually promising when you see that, just because it means they just have to develop for one console. So that gives me hope that it's going to be like super, super well made. But yeah, we'll see. That's probably one of my most anticipated games this year. The only thing I heard is, like, and I didn't play the original, is that it's a little bit of like you're just kind of walking through this area slowly, and there's combat here and there. So like I don't know what I watched, but someone made the point that it'll be really interesting to see how they adapt that for like for modern gameplay, unless they just turn it into a more action heavy game. So
It'd be really cinematic, just like looking around,
Yeah.
like while because you could be in less control of the camera and stuff, and it just be like making the environment more creepy, like it should be. Because but the
just
combat that it
building those
showed, I
scares.
like
Yeah.
those monsters were definitely
Yeah.
like, I remember those. I remember the fucking people that look like they're walking on their hands and their legs are hanging over,
Yeah.
and the nurses. Like, it's definitely cool to see that like scaled up.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I might track down the older ones. But no, I think it's great. Well, hopefully it does come out this year, and hopefully it is really good because I'm excited for it.
well, the next one's the biggest highlight for me. Judas was
Yeah.
absolutely exciting. The only thing I didn't like about it is that they didn't even tell us what year it's coming out. There's no like, 20, it didn't even say 2025. Like it just said in development. But damn, that trailer looked so good and just made me want more. Made me like so excited for more of that writing that just can hit so close to home while also feeling like otherworldly. Just I don't know. It looked very like something that could happen, but with a BioShock twist to it, post-apocalyptic. With I wrote down the whole quote from the beginning of the trailer, but the whole where she's talking about like, they're watching you, they hear you, they're recording everything. I don't know, but I'm very excited to play Judas. Please come out at least next year, or take your time, make it good, but just more BioShock.
Brandon, what did you think?
So I'm I'm probably like I mean I like the first BioShock, but I've probably played BioShock in general like less than both of you. So I think from a narrative standpoint, I think it'll be really good. And some of the like imagery that I seen felt kind of like fever dreamish, like the one enemy that was like a horse or something like that really kind of
Yeah.
stood out like like as
Yeah,
absurd.
and then the hands, like reanimating the hands at one point, like
Yeah. So I mean that looked really interesting, but there was definitely a
mhm,
lot of it where this was like, okay, this is BioShock. Like, I mean, there's definitely a lot of that. Um, the only negative thing I'll say about it's like when it did show her talking in the very beginning, there was something about um, there was something about just the way the character was designed that looked kind of dated. I don't know if it was just a specific art style or what it was, but I don't know, it just something seemed old or off of there. But I think for the most part though, it did look interesting. So I'm curious where they're going with it.
she made me think of the angel from Borderlands, the one that would talk to you
Yeah.
that would talk to you through the first part of the game, kind of guide you through it, and she would just come on like over a screen.
Really, the animation, Brandon, I know what you mean because it's a little cartoony. Like
Yeah.
it's a little exaggerated, the proportions and the animation. And it
Yeah.
reminded me how because we know it's from the people who made BioShock, right? Or at least a lot of the people, right?
Yeah.
It reminded me of how Elizabeth was animated in BioShock Infinite.
Yeah.
Like I saw like this big,
Mhm.
big eyes, like really kind of exaggerated features while still being kind of photorealistic in a lot of ways. But yeah, I picked up on that. I think for me, I just saw it as like an artistic decision, but I can totally get where it would kind of come across looking a little slightly off compared to how a lot of games are designed now.
Yeah.
But I'm I am like I can't even think about the Judas that much because it gives me anxiety, like how potentially excited like I could be for it. You know,
Mhm.
BioShock's one of, and I felt that way. I can't get that excited again. Like my heart can't take it because when the first BioShock was coming out, it was just like, what is happening? What is this game about, dude? This is so
Mhm.
crazy. The graphics are nuts. I mean, me and my wife Brandy were watching it, and what I like, I was trying to decipher the story again and like figure like what is happening. And so I'm so excited for it. It's just that when's it gonna come out? Right. And like I just can't like put that much mental energy into
Mhm.
it. That being said, like it's already fun to start theorizing. Like I was watching it and I'm like, what's the hook this time? It almost seems like based off of some of the dialogue, I'll just throw this wild theory out there. It's almost like the character was like in the Matrix and like then the Matrix like is glitching out and they're trying to break out of it in the middle of the glitch. Cause Brandon, to your point, like the enemies and stuff were like these weird nightmarish combinations of different like look like toys and creatures and
Mhm.
stuff. So I was like, you know, the imagination of it is just awesome. And I think it's gonna like totally suck us into it when it comes out. It's just like you said, it's like no. I'm hoping that the reason they didn't say 2024 is because there's like a bigger announcement coming from directly from the developer, and they want to do like a whole showcase with whoever, you know, Xbox, PlayStation, whoever, and be like, hey, you know, here's when it's coming out, here's all these features and stuff. And they just didn't want to show that today. They just wanted to let everyone know it's coming out on PlayStation. That's my hope. Alternatively, we're not going to see it for like another 2 years or some nonsense. So anyway,
Do you
but
think it?
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you think it will be exclusive? Because they didn't.
Mm-mm. I don't think so. I want to say that like the first trailer was at like and maybe I'm just making this up, but I thought it was an Xbox showcase or something where they announced it. Maybe it was just the Game Awards a couple
I
years
think
back.
it.
I
I
don't
think it was
know.
just Game Awards.
I'd be shocked if it was an exclusive, to be honest. I just feel like
Yeah.
because like yeah, I just don't. That'd be weird for that to happen, but it could be. Who knows? You know?
It'd be weird. It would make sense too, though, at the same time, just because it's like BioShock was originally exclusive on the Xbox,
Yeah,
on the 360, and then if they flipped around and they're like pulled a Bungie and they're like, you know what? Fuck that side.
Well,
yeah,
I think in general, just for being consumer friendly, like I'm kind of against exclusives, but at the same time, like PlayStation needs a first person that stands out. Like that's like their one
Hmm.
weakness is a first
yeah.
person game. Like the last one was what Gorilla,
Killzone.
yeah, Killzone, like
Yeah,
the Gorilla Games made. Like that was like the last one that really stood out, and it wasn't it wasn't bad, but it
yeah.
was very mediocre. And
Hmm.
Hmm.
so I think that's like the one weakness PlayStation has is first person. So like I said, I'm not really a fan of exclusivity, but I mean that one's theirs for the taking. There, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Could be.
Do you guys mind if I read the quote from the beginning from the trailer? Just because, like,
Go
I
ahead.
loved it.
Yeah,
I
go
love what
ahead.
she's. What if I told you that every word you say is being recorded? Every thought you've ever had, your love, your fear, your hate, were just planted in your brain like weeds in a garden. What would you do to free yourself? We both know the answer to that question. Nothing. You're the frog in the pot, boiling so slowly you don't even know what's happening. But I'm here to set you free, whether you like it or not. And then ending with the quote, "Fix what you broke." Just it's got that whole the just the way that BioShock made your brain think. It's got that Ken Levine writing on it. That's just like I can't
So
wait to see what this game how this game breaks my brain. Like I don't know, especially with the progress of the BioShock series and just how much they would each make you think about shit. Especially even like Infinite, especially. But
so here's what I mean. I'm just gonna throw something out there, and it's probably just hoping something sticks. But like like Nick said, like what's the catch, or like what's the twist here?
What's
And
happening?
I think just to throw something weird out there, but like the last line was like fix what you broke. So
Mhm.
instead of like the villain or like the antagonist being like a Andrew Ryan type character, like maybe you are the Andrew Ryan type character. And
Mhm.
from the way it sounds, as far as like all that being monitoring, like I mean, just for shits and giggles, like you're Elon Musk and like you created Neuralink and now you're trying to go fix shit.
Mhm. You're the bad guy choosing to do good and fix what you broke.
Yeah.
That would be
Or you're
cool.
not good at all, and you're just trying to fix a glitch in the program so everyone stays in prison. You find out in the last
Yeah.
3 seconds.
Yeah, it's like you're playing this game from Elon Musk's perspective. It's like, oh, I fucked up, and then I've got to go fix this.
Yeah, yeah.
Cause
The
just,
more,
just to
the more,
be just to be a little like topical, like uh, I think I just saw yesterday where he like I think
yeah.
they
I know what you're
tested
talking about.
Neuralink on the first human, so
Hmm.
Yeah.
it's about to hit the fan. Maybe
Yeah,
I don't know.
Superheroes are right around the
yeah.
corner.
That's gonna be an awesome game. Will
Yeah.
be a
Super
PS6
excited.
launch title. So,
Yeah, like you said, like I don't want to get too excited about it too. I'm really hyped right now just because it's like we just
yeah.
got the second viewing of that game. The first one, like I didn't even see the first trailer of the game until it had been out for a few months. It's like I remember my brother-in-law telling me about it, and
Mhm.
like, "Did you see that trailer for the
What?
people that made Bioshock?" And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about, dude?" And he was like, "No, yeah, you got to watch that, bro." And I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And that was like not that long
Yeah.
ago. So like so soon, getting getting this trailer like after getting hyped up on that is nice, but it probably will be like a next generation launch title, and
Hey,
I'm
it could be
six
this
hundred
year.
dollars away from being able to play that fucking game.
Yeah, I think
Or it
the
could be
good
this
news.
year. That'd be great. But we didn't get
Yeah,
it. They didn't. If you would think if they wanted to build that anticipation, they would have said at least holiday 2024 or something.
yeah. That's true. It is still early. I'm sorry, early in the year though. So maybe I'm just
Yeah.
being like I'm trying to convince myself there's a chance. I mean,
Maybe
God,
it'll happen
look,
soon.
the game it's been in development forever. I mean, I was trying to
But look at
Google and
Bioshock. It was like that too. They
yeah,
were
that's
so
true. I'm
long.
just wondering where they're getting the money from, like for the development. Like I mean, we're talking literally BioShock Infinite, whatever happened after that, and then Ken Levine went off and figured out his new studio and all that. And this is their
Investors.
first game. Yeah, yeah, big investors. But it's gonna be awesome. It's I can't wait to figure out what the twists are. And it seems like it's
Hmm.
definitely got a lot of commentary on things that we're feeling right now with technology and all that. So it seems like you said that opening dialogue for sure.
Well, we'll move on from that. Uh, Next up was a couple of VR games, which I don't think I'll ever touch, even though they did look kind of cool. Um, Metro Awakening, which I've never played a Metro game, so I don't know a whole lot in that. Um, my notes say looks cool and scary. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah. The only Metro I've finished was Metro Exodus, the third game I want to say,
Yeah.
and it's great. Like I think you'd really enjoy it. There's a lot to enjoy. It's a good mix between like an actual just traditional FPS and like a Fallout. It's not heavy with RPG mechanics, but there's still pieces of your gun you can find and build, and a lot of customization and stuff. So it's a great game. So I'm interested to see what they do in VR, but I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. It didn't look mind blowing or anything when I was looking at the gameplay, you know.
It was I don't know if you have anything to say about Metro, Brandon. I was going to move on to the next one.
Not much.
It-
I played like the first two, but it was kind of like when they released like the double pack with the games together. So it's kind of a couple years after they released. It's probably a little too late. Like if I would have played them new, I probably would have had more favorable review of them. But I remember Exodus like was one of the first trailers that Xbox showed like around the time the Xbox One came out, and I was always like really. I remember being really interested in it, but for whatever reason, just never played it. But yeah, I mean, I a lot of VR I feel like it's been hit or miss. So I don't know. I think it could be really fun.
Mm. It seems like if you're into VR, like they need more immersive games like that, especially on, major consoles. Um, but the next game definitely had my attention more, and I can't really play VR games too much just because it makes me so motion sick. Like I experienced motion sickness one time and it ruined VR for me forever. I was like, now I don't know, it just takes me out of it. But was it Legendary Tales? It looked like Skyrim in VR,
Yeah,
but just really good VR mechanics. Like just it showed like a lot of the combat and how you could like throw the sword up and switch how you're holding it. Um, like just flipping the sword around and holding it by the blade and killing someone with the hilt of it and it's sticking in them. Like moving, there was a part where like um, skeleton was like under a broken table and you move the table out of the way and you pick it up by it. Like just a lot of the mechanics to it. Like it's something that I've seen. Like there's a zombie game, Saints and Sinners, that has mechanics similar to that. So it's cool to see a high fantasy like medieval type game that actually looked like it was doing similar um, like physics. Uh, so that one looked pretty cool, but at the same time, I don't know if I'll ever play it just because it'll make me sick.
yeah, it definitely looked like it had a lot of Elder Scrolls vibes. But
Hmm.
like the two things that stood out to me were like it seemed like the blocking part of the combat was really well
Hmm.
done. Like, and I mean, just being able to like move and block the different sword attacks and stuff. And then the other thing was the part where like he reached out and like grabbed the skull and then like stabbed it. Like that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
So,
the blade where he's holding the blade and he like puts the element down it,
oh yeah,
like
that was
that turns
nice.
into like a frost blade was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, out of the VR games I've seen, it probably like top of the list of like one I would want to try out.
Mm.
But yeah, yeah, VR just in general, like there's some element that's still missing. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. They're not like definitely had glimpses of like, oh, this could be the future, but there's just something that's missing. I can't quite put my finger on it yet.
And we don't have all the haptics and like a floor mat where you can actually walk. Like you need too many things to make it feel right.
Yeah.
So just having part of it, which just having the visual part and the controls, it still feels like it's missing something because
Yeah, I
I
mean
don't know.
that may be it, just the movement. Like if you've still got to move with a
Hmm.
joystick or something, that might be it. But then again, like I mean, I guess that's part of it. Like, and you've only got so much space that you could actually utilize, so it's got to be a weird balance. That's why we need that
Yeah.
Neuralink, so I can just tell my brain I need to move
Yeah, I don't have to
forward.
wear some goofy goggles. I can just have it in my head. Here
Dude, hey, Ready Player Two,
we go.
dude. Man, I thought it looked. I agree with you guys. The mechanics looked really good. I think I would have liked to see all those mechanics that were really impressive in a game that looked a lot more interesting.
Hmm.
So it's almost like I'm like, God, just hire these guys to do your combat system for your, you know, Skyrim 5.5 or whatever the heck, you want to do in VR, because I felt like yeah, right, they nailed a lot of that, Like, oh yeah, you should be able to stab the enemy anywhere. You should in a VR, right? But just all these skeletons and stuff, I was kind of like,
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
know,
I
yeah,
think
it was just a lot of skeletons.
I think it's
yeah,
missing like some name value. Like it could definitely
yeah,
like a bigger name on it could have done better. I think.
yeah. Just some more, better, just more art, more
It looked like
creativity
it
with the
had
design.
a multiplayer aspect to it. There was
Yeah,
one scene that showed like another player. So
yeah, I
that, I
saw
mean, that could
that.
be cool. Um, and the
Definitely.
the Milnor at the end of it, the
Yeah,
having
yeah.
Thor's hand. I mean, that was kind of cool. uh,
As
yeah,
long,
I mean, not super hyped up on VR games, but that definitely would have made the top of the list of potential ones that I would try to play at some point.
Now, if they got a stealth archer build where I've got to like stay crouched down the whole time I play, like then they might be onto something.
Hmm. Yeah,
I want to.
where
I
you
want to
could
go
like
to War
you literally
VR.
crouch down and go invisible.
But you have to be in real grass. It can detect if there's grass nearby.
um, well, the next one I wish I had more thoughts for, but I'm gonna let hopefully one of you guys talk more about this because it does look like a great game. I did not play the first one as much as I wish that I could have, but Dragon's Dogma 2.
Oh, that looked really
It
good.
Yeah,
looked beautiful, and that
I can't wait.
combat just looked so good. Um, who's got thoughts? Anybody got more thoughts than me? Because
I got a lot. Brandon, you guys can go first because yeah, I same
Now,
here.
go
I'm
ahead.
hyped for that game.
Go ahead.
I I mean, well, first of all, I didn't play the original much. I tried to start it, but
yeah,
when I say I tried to start it, that was like 2 months ago. And like
yeah,
just at the time it came out, and let me know if you guys agree, like it just looks kind of like meh and weird, and like we already had Dragon Age, and I was kind of like, this looks like a really muddy
hmm,
Japanese copy of Dragon Age, maybe, and it just doesn't
yep,
look that great. And then I was working at GameStop at the time, and then people just started telling me like, The game's really good. It's got these really interesting mechanics and stuff." And there was just too much out at the time. I never played it, but I've heard like so much about Dragon's Dogma, and it's supposed to be awesome, and I believe it is. So when they announced Dragon's Dogma 2, I was like, oh, finally, I can like get into it on the ground floor now. And you're right, it looks fantastic. So a couple cool things like got me really interested is it just looks great, right? There's no maybe there's fast travel, but you have to use some type of perhaps item to do the fast travel. And like reading up on all these previews and stuff is like there's these constant like fights and stuff that happen as you're going through the open world. And it really encourages you to like not speed through it, and that like just going from town to town creates all these dynamic events and stuff. So I think it just looks great. Um,
hmm.
that's one of my most anticipated games this year. I'll stop there.
I was gonna say, Lucas here said Dragon's Dogma was the first game that made spells feel powerful.
I've heard so much praise
Yes.
for the combat in the original Dragon's Dogma. It's like if it did anything right, it had like the late game combat in it was like apparently some of the most satisfying like medieval game combat. Um, I've started playing that game probably like 4 times, even to the point it went on sale on Switch a couple months ago, and I was like, maybe I'll try again. It's only like $4 or $5, and
Yeah.
I couldn't make it even to the first town before I like put it down and forgot about it. And I
Yeah.
think the first time I picked it up, I played through the tutorial and probably an hour or two of the game, but like you nailed it and kind of remind me of it, Nick. Like there were other games in that same vein at the same time that just kind of outclassed it for me. And
Same.
Dragon Age was a big part of that because that was my high fantasy game. Like so, um, but I am excited to hopefully get into Dragon's Dogma 2. It looked great, and if it takes any notes from the first one, I'm sure it'll be fantastic with and not look as rough as the first one did.
Yeah, yeah. I when I got my son his Switch, like, because he had damaged his first one, and then we got that refurbished one, and it actually came with Dragon's Dogma 1 on it already. I just, for
Nice.
whatever reason, never tried it out. It just didn't seem like it was a Switch game necessarily. Like, it felt like
Yeah.
it would have been better on console or something. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying this one out because it looked great. Like, it's probably out of everything, it probably just visually stood out the most to me. It's just I don't have much background on it to have any other
Hmm.
like hype for it, I guess. But it definitely visually stood out the most.
Yeah. And something else I was going to say is, I think Lucas, I saw your comment, but yeah, seeing the major or whatever build, just those spells just look so explosive and stuff. So yeah, no, that looks really cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it'll be really neat. There was some other point about or something I heard about it that made it even more exciting, but it'll come back to me later. I don't remember what it was.
Well, the next one was Rise of the Ronin, which also looked incredible. Um,
At times it did. There were a few scenes where like this doesn't look like it's finished.
it probably isn't.
Like the
Good
the
point.
very opening scene, it kind of like went through like the city, and I was like,
Hmm.
it was initially I was like, man, these graphics look like PS3 era. But then it actually like the when the camera panned over behind the character like third person view, then I was like, oh,
Hmm.
this looks good. And it definitely looked like there were parts of it that were unfinished, but it looks like it'll be fun. I just it's got it's in a weird position because it's in a similar genre as Ghost of Tsushima, so it's got to kind of live up to that to an extent. And so
Hmm.
far, from everything I've seen, it looks fun, but it doesn't do anything different that Ghost of Tsushima didn't already do, and especially didn't do good. So I don't know. Keep my eye out on it.
As I didn't really play Ghost of Tsushima, but whenever I've seen that game, it didn't. There's nothing visually that pulled me into it. I guess like it is a very pretty game. Don't get me wrong, but I think that it. I mean, it was really dull tones from like a lot. Like I used to watch Noah and Austin play it a lot, and I don't know. Like it looked cool, but it just kind of looked like beyond um, my interest of games. Given some of the unfinishedness, uh, I actually thought like visually, this game pulled me in and interested me more than Ghost of Tsushima originally did. Just um, I don't know, being a Ronin that like seemed like maybe he's like protecting a town or something, or like kind of just being, I don't know. The combat looked really good at times. It seemed like familiar, but at the same time pretty fresh. Just I don't know.
Well,
That maybe it was the colors are a little bit more popping or something to it rather than Ghost of Tsushima. Like I know I haven't given that game a lot of day. I know it deserves it, but in comparison as to like seeing pretty much as much of both, felt like Rise of the Ronin seemed more interesting to me. And Team Ninja is pretty like a pretty renowned company, aren't they? Is that Ninja
Yeah,
Gaiden?
yeah.
yeah.
And Neo and some other things. Yeah.
Normally the unfinished part wouldn't bother me as much. Like, cause sometimes that happens when it comes to previews and stuff, and you
Hmm.
know whatever they previewed probably is already a build or two behind what they're actually working on. So like that's normally it doesn't bother me, but then it's coming out I think next month. So that's the concern
Yeah,
is we're a month away and what you just showed off looks there's like parts of it that look unfinished. Um,
that and Dragon's Dogma come out on the same day.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna mention that, which is rough.
Hmm.
I yeah, I'm feeling more how Brandon's feeling towards it. It doesn't bother me that it's got similarities to Ghost of Tsushima because I would gladly play another Ghost of Tsushima. And I think there are some things that are unique about it that they're adding that like, just firearms and the glider, whatever. I think that the stuff looks cool. It just my
Oh
hope is
yeah,
I want it,
Yeah, the
yeah,
glide.
whatever, or
you
the
just reminded
paraglider.
me of the maneuverability, and it looked cool
Yeah,
too. Like it's very like Batman,
Yeah,
yeah.
Arkham City and shit.
when he
I
started
I
like, go ahead, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna. There's one thing I was gonna mention. Like, yeah, once they started like mantling and stuff, a lot of that
Hmm.
just instantly kind of felt more along the Assassin's Creed vibes than what Ghost of Tsushima was. But yeah, there are definitely aspects of it that looked interesting. So I don't want to be completely negative on it, but like I said, I was just concerned with it being a month away. But yeah, what were you gonna say, Nick?
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really hope it's great because I think honestly we haven't seen enough games from like Japan development teams, right? Like, and I think it's great that we're getting several. Like there's this year has kind of been front loaded with it between Final Fantasy, Dragon's Dogma, Rise of Ronin, Stellar Blade. Those are all either Japanese. Stellar Blade might be Chinese. I can't remember, but regardless. I really hope it's great, and it could
Mm.
be great. But yeah, it looks like maybe they're trying to push it out a couple months before maybe they should. And I hope that's not the case. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope I'm just being nitpicky about some of the things I saw that just looked a little janky. But that's only from the perspective of someone who would want to buy it full price, right? I think
Mm.
it's probably going to be a great game, just maybe not for $70. My concern is this a game you want to buy day one, with some of the stuff I saw, and I just don't know if it is. Dragon's Dogma, on the other hand, coming out the same day, I looked at that and I was like, I really want to be playing that as soon as possible,
Hmm.
and it looked finished to me, and at least and mostly. So yeah. So anyway, that's my final thought is I really hope it's good. I hope it's awesome and it's like one of the best games of the year and they just didn't show good gameplay or something, you know.
I will say real quick, I think Stellar Blade's Korean.
Is it?
Yeah.
Should probably look that up.
Damn you.
I got it wrong.
See what the next. Okay. So after that, we got the Until Dawn re-release, remake, redo, however they're changing it
Yeah.
up. I just wrote cool next to that. Um, I I played the first one. I played through the whole first one and hardly saved anyone. It was a terrible playthrough, and I never touched it again. Um, so it's a game that if I like, it'll be when it's free, I'll check it out again and replay it. But I do not have a lot of interest in the Until Dawn.
That one I kind of laughed a little bit because I know we kind of talked about it the other day, and
Mm.
uh, we weren't sure if it was going to be a game or if it was going to be like
A
on
movie,
something on Netflix or yeah, something
yeah.
along those lines. But I mean, it's cool that it's getting a remaster of sorts. But at the same time, like
Mm,
I I mean, it was more of like an interactive story than it was like any kind of
yeah.
action game. Um, so yeah, I mean, if it's getting new visuals, I mean, that's pretty much all you can do with it at this point.
Maybe some new twists and turns in the story. I didn't recognize the guy at the end of the trailer, so that might be new.
I have a
Um,
hard time with games like that though uh, because I do keep like a long backlog. Like I very rarely like replay stuff, and that's definitely one of those like when it comes to certain things, I am somewhat of a completionist. So it's like I would want to replay it to get every possible ending. And when there's so many different branches, like how many times do you have to play it to really get all of it? And so that's a little bit of like I guess too much for me. Sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
I didn't play the original, but it looked fun. So yeah, I wouldn't mind playing it. Um, I'm not excited for it, and I definitely hope they don't try to charge people $60 for it, or 70 for that matter. Um, but I do know, I want to say they announced they were doing an Until Dawn movie that's in development.
I
So
feel like I heard that too.
yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
I like games like that. Like I love like Detroit Become Human. I don't know if y'all played that. Like that was a really cool story driven game and stuff. So no, it'll be neat. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I want to pay anything for it. Not especially after you bought the first one, and there needs to be an upgrade path or something.
Yeah.
If they do it that way.
Yeah, it says they're doing a movie, but there's no other details as far as like
Yeah,
when or any kind of timeline.
gotcha.
Well, the last thing, Death Stranding 2, uh, definitely got the most of my notes, but which is kind of funny because I had no interest in the first one. Like I I just remember being disappointed in the path that like I felt like Hideo Kojima went from like moving on from PT. It's like, okay, now we're just gonna do this weird thing with Norman Reedus and a baby and some like I don't understand it. So but what I liked about Death Stranding 2 and what information they gave about it is it made me want to go back. I was like, okay, maybe now I need to go back and play Death Stranding because this actually looks interesting. And I mean, I'm curious to know what you guys thought about it, or if either of you played the first one, but
Well,
I'm very excited for this.
I think I'm in the same boat with you. Like, um, I was always interested in the first one, but I don't know. I heard too many stories of the whole walking simulator like knock
Hmm.
against it. So like it was one of those that, like it's definitely on my backlog, but I'd have to be really motivated to jump in. And after seeing what they showed yesterday, it was definitely like, okay, now I want to go back and play the other one because it,
Hmm.
it looked really good. Can compel the characters looked really compelling, and but yeah, it. I don't know. I haven't, like I said, I haven't played the first, so I don't know like how much combat there actually is. But the way they kind of showed off some of the weapons and stuff in that one scene definitely seemed like it was going to be more of a focus in this one, maybe.
Definitely looked like there was more combat in the trailer for this than anything I've ever seen for the first one.
Yeah, the first one I've only ever seen like the boss fights. I don't know if there's anything else.
Mm.
I think you've played it, haven't you, Nick?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my feelings are pretty similar to y'all's. So, I mean, well, first of all, the trailer was awesome. Like for the new one,
Yeah.
it looks great. I love like the weirdness of the story and stuff, and they're sticking with that. But uh, Barrett, I really like the way you said that. Is it makes you want to go back to it? Like those are the feelings that I got halfway through, and I was like, damn it, I want to beat this. Like I want to get into this. And they alluded to a lot of things that are going to be really positive, I think, in the sequel. Like as far as they heavily showed that there are going to be guns in this game. Like it was almost like they knew people were like, wait, is there anything in there? So here's what's crazy about the original one, and I've tried to get into it probably 7 or 8 times, and I joke with my wife that like I don't think I'll ever stop deleting it and reinstalling it, like and getting like 3 hours into it, like and just but can't get further. Here's what's crazy is I've watched a ton of stuff for it and like watched Brandy play it, my wife, and it kind of becomes a game that's really like Metal Gear Solid. There are guns, right? And they are powered by like your blood, like and stuff like that. And that's what
I didn't know
and
that.
there's like grenade launchers and there's like exoskeletons, right? Where you can like run and there is combat and stuff and vehicles that you can like build and stuff like that. So it really becomes a game that feels like Phantom Pain almost in a lot of ways. It's just that you got to get through like 20 hours of just taking packages from point A to point B. And I think I've told you all this in real life. I was on board with just walking through a really cool environment, like in a weird sci-fi story. But the moment those freaking packages fell off my back while I was trying to go across a shallow river, and I just watched them float away, man. And I was like, oh wait, I need those. Let me go figure out how to get them back. It was work. It was legitimate work. And so I think the problem is probably me, because I've like heard all these people be like, it's my favorite game ever and stuff. And I'm like, maybe if I just like that's always gets me back. Maybe if I just get further. And the thing is, there's things you end up getting like trucks in the game to carry the packages and stuff, right? Like, so it's not always like where you're just teetering and dropping stuff all the time. But anyway, I really want to get into the first one and finish it. And now I'm debating, like, should I try to pick up where I left off? Yeah, I think it looks cool. I have entirely different feelings on like the whole Hideo Kojima cult or whatever that he's built to himself, but you know, that has nothing to do with probably the game.
The one thing in the trailer that like really, I guess, when like Norman Reedus came in the screen initially, and he's just like, I don't know if he's in grayscale or what the deal was with that. That was the first thing I saw. That's like, I have no clue what's going on here, but I want to know.
Or are the character models in this moment just not finished yet? And
no, that was definitely
No,
like
read something on it.
stylized. That was definitely a choice. Had to have been.
Yeah, that was one of my notes too. I wrote down the grayscale character models in that first scene whenever he's walking out was just like, that's weird. It's very interesting. And the gloves that like stay over there.
Those were cool.
They move on their own.
That was
and then
cool
there was like
too.
one moment where she used it for a hand motion or something. Like that was just like, what the fuck? This is weird.
What's going on here? Yeah.
That was cool too, because
that was cool.
I don't know if that was in the first game or not, but initially I thought it was just like she had them like tied there to be like a mask or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I've never seen anybody do that before. That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they moved, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And the stop motion puppet.
Yeah. So there was a lot of stuff in there that just like, okay, what's this?
That was.
But I want to know.
That puppet made me change whatever I thought I knew about what was happening in the game world.
I feel like there were multiple moments of that.
You're like looking around, like, is everybody else seeing this puppet?
So I'm almost curious if it was either a nod to or a knock against, but the way the puppet mentioned about being carried on his back, he wanted the view.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if that's a knock against God of War or more of an Easter egg too, because it definitely felt. I don't know. It felt like that idea was taken from God of War, but implemented in a different way.
That's a great point. I was like, oh, they're doing the God of War thing in the sense of having a character kind of hanging with him that he can communicate with, and add some color commentary to whatever's happening at the moment. But man, I did think the similar thing too. But I thought there was a part in God of War where one of the characters says like, well, why don't you carry Mimir on the front so we can see? And he's like, well, we tried that, but we had a problem with Viscera or something like that. He makes some, and then he's like, it didn't work out. So, but yeah, I did feel like that could potentially be a nod towards that. But like, what is that? Like, what is it? I have no idea. I like
fucking weird. And the guy with the guitar fucking.
That was cool. Yeah, that was cool.
Like
too.
He even like picks him up at one point and like, but that whole fight with the dude with the guitar, like I almost jaw dropped. Like, what the fuck am I watching right now? This is crazy. Like one of my favorite like bad guy introductions since like Far Cry 3. It was just like one of those like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
So you should play it then because that character is in the first game, right? He's coming back in the second one. I don't know what happened to him, I didn't get that far, but he's one of the main antagonists or whatever. And he's zany in the first game too, in the
Mhm.
cutscenes I've seen.
He's voiced
But
by Troy Baker too, I believe.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I saw his name on it, but I didn't know who he was.
And
Yeah,
then when
there's a
he
lot of really just cool
and
design choices in it. They're
yeah,
just like
then he
really
like takes the
damn.
mask off, and he almost has like a Joker kind of look to him.
Yeah, that's what I said. Joker looking bad guy. Like I wrote like notes, like bullet point thoughts. I said it was like Joker looking bad guy and his fucking guitar versus katana. What the fuck? Yeah,
It's
super
an
cool looking.
it's
real
another one I
Guitar
think
Hero.
that well, guitar villain
Sorry.
maybe, but
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I bet.
I think that's another one that they announced back in I think December that they're doing a movie adaptation for it
Hmm.
too. And that's kind of got me on the fence because I'm like based on like just a lot of what I heard about the first one, it's like maybe it works better as a movie. I don't know. But at the same time, like I don't know. I I haven't I don't think we've completely seen it yet, but there's also a part of it where it's like the fact that it's all CGI makes some difference there. Where it's like I don't know if I'd want to see it completely live action because there's just some things you can't do live action very well. But um, I think it's going to be made by A24, which I mean they've been building up a good history of like good movies here lately.
Oh,
So
the movie.
yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah. Sorry, I was like, they said May 24. I was like, I don't think it's coming out that
no no
soon.
no no A24.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that definitely made me want to go play the first one. It's just a matter of when I'm going to fit it in over the next couple of months.
Yeah, for real. Did they? I didn't see if they put a date on it, or
It
did they
just
put a year
it
on
just
it?
said 2025, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I
So
thought
I've got
was
time.
surprising
Yeah,
because I
they're
thought that
like,
would be their big, like Brandon, you mentioned earlier that like maybe that like overall I was a little disappointed in the state of play. Like I was expecting there to be a little bit more because I thought it was going to kind of like pave the way for the whole year. And it's like we got mostly some insight. It felt like, and maybe I'm just not thinking of all the games that didn't interest me, but it really felt like they talked about games that are probably going to come out the first quarter of the year. And then like I was confident Death Stranding would be out this holiday, and that would be their big end of year game that they were just going to put all this marketing behind. But when they said 2025, I thought that was pretty pretty interesting. But you know,
And it being
glad they're
2025,
taking the time.
yeah, it being 2025, I think they're probably going to shoot for first quarter,
Yeah,
but it's
I
kind
think
of
so.
left open vague to where if they need to push back to like the fall, I could see that happening too. But yeah, I mean, like you said, Nick, I said it earlier. I don't think there was like a specific thing that stood out as like, okay, this is like PlayStation's like next monumental pillar that's going to move forward
Mm.
outside of Death Stranding and a little bit of Silent Hill. Um, but yeah, I was overall I was a little disappointed, and from what I've seen, it may be a little too soon to say that because the two things I was looking forward to seeing was Final Fantasy and Spider-Man, and but and they did announce that Final Fantasy is going to do their own showcase next week,
Hmm.
and I don't know about you guys, but maybe that's something that because I think it's Tuesday, I think maybe.
okay.
So
Yeah,
maybe
I'm excited for that.
so I was thinking maybe that comes out Tuesday, and we do a little short stream to discuss that Tuesday. Uh,
Hmm.
but uh,
Yeah, that could be good
but I
for
think,
sure.
like I said, the two things I was most excited for were Final Fantasy and Spider-Man. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a teaser of that they put out for Spider-Man that seemed like it may get its own show or showcase or something. Because
Yeah.
they it was something on Twitter that like they kind of like flashed the logo and then they showed like a set with a computer desk and stuff on it, like it was like some kind of like a creators discussion or something. So I'm kind of hoping there's something more to that, but I was really looking forward to probably Spider-Man the most because we already saw, I think it was like back in December that the team put out a note that, New Game Plus was coming, that there'd be more news in the first quarter. Um, so I'm really looking forward to like whatever DLC plans they have for that. Um, Especially with Venom being in Spider-Man 2 and one of the side missions like hints at Carnage. Like I'm really hoping that if it's not a DLC, it's like a Miles Morales size game of Carnage where it's like it may not be like full price or something, but I think they got to, especially like I said, they had Venom in this game. They had Scream as well, which is like the female symbiote. So um, it's kind of like outside of the hint, it's kind of would be a waste to not use Carnage in some way. So I was really hoping to see that, and so that the fact that that didn't show up, it just really deflated the whole show for me, I think.
I can't remember like what their group name was, but would it be cool if they kind of went the like what Rocksteady's doing with Kill the Justice League, but it's a symbiote game. You're playing. It's like what is it, the Big Six or who? I don't remember who it is for Marvel, where it's like the group of the symbiotes, and then you just got a game based on that. That would be pretty cool.
As long as they don't make it a lot like a live service, like it could
I
be
was
all
just
right.
thinking that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I've
the
been
Suicide Squad is not on my list of.
I want to I like it's really for that game specifically. If we want to go on that tangent just a little bit, like all of the bad press about it makes me want to play it more because I've just seen so many people complain a lot, not even about the gameplay, like it's about the story, and it feels a lot like the same complaints that The Last of Us 2 got
Hmm.
because there were people complaining about way certain characters are portrayed or like who gets killed, but it's like I mean the titles kill the Justice League, like if they don't get killed, like isn't that kind of false advertising? So like I think it yeah, the bad press has kind of made me want to play it more. I don't really care for like all the microtransactions, and that was the same problem I had with the Avengers game. Like gameplay wise, it's really good, but trying to make it live service kind of ruined it. Like it doesn't need to be Destiny or anything. Like Chris, like for the Avengers game, like Crystal Dynamics, like they've got a reputation with making the good like Tomb Raider games. Like, do we really need to like mess with that formula all that much? Like,
They need continuity. Like they need something that's gonna keep the developers money in their pocket. They sell it one time and they don't have anything to make money off of it unless they make expansions or DLCs or whatever.
yeah,
And it's like a shitty trade-off to like support a company, especially if you don't agree with everything the company's doing. I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, I mean,
I agree though.
I, I think the main problem with live service is, I mean, I've seen where stuff like Fortnite, it can work, but everything can't be live service. And I
Hmm.
think that's the bigger point is like we're a little oversaturated on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Is like I love Destiny. Destiny's a big time and commitment, and it like scratches that itch that it does, right? Like I when I think of like going and playing a game from Rocksteady, who made the Arkham Asylum games, it's not Oh man, I sure would love like a Destiny-like game to sink 100 hours into with microtransactions. That's a looter shooter. I'm like, why are you guys making that game? Like, I want another Batman Arkham game or something in that
Yeah.
style. That's my perspective. It may be a great shooter, right? But it's just to me, I'm just like, well, why would I invest time and energy and money into that when I have Destiny, who's been doing it for, years now?
Long enough to
And
finally
that,
get it right.
yeah, right. Like, why would I want that in sorry, DC universe? So
Mhm.
yeah, but back with the state of play. Barrett, did you have any hopes for it, or was it kind of just you went in with like no expectations?
I went in with absolutely no expectations because the only thing that I really am looking forward to and want right now is Final Fantasy. And I mean,
Yeah.
knowing that I only have to wait another week to see more of that, it's fine. But I honestly was happy with everything because it showed me things that I didn't think I would be interested in if I would have just saw a title of it. But actually, like forcing myself to sit down and watch the whole thing front to back, like there was a few games that really did stand out to me that probably wouldn't have otherwise. But also, they're not right around the corner. I've got time. I got plenty of time. It didn't say, "Hey, here's 7 AAA games coming out this year. They're all $60 to $70 a piece, and they're all looking fucking great. Like everyone's gonna be talking about every single one of them." Luckily, there wasn't any of that. So like, I'm happy with it because it was a little underwhelming with a few high points, and the high points weren't like. I mean, Judas was definitely the highest point for me, just because,
Right.
like, I mean, anything in that vein of Bioshock is going to get me like way too excited. But like, but also knowing that it's not right around the corner, I don't have to like, because I've got such a big backlog of games that I still want to complete, just not having as much time anymore. And now Destiny's back in my life, and that bitch takes up way too much time. So, um, I'm excited. I'm glad that there wasn't too many great things announced because then I would be a lot more negative being like, yeah, but I just don't know when I'm going to be able to play that. Like, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get around to that. And I mean, with the only two that are really right around the corner that are kind of cool being Dragon's Dogma 2 and Rise of the Ronin, I'm not in a rush to play either of those games, but they do look like cool games that might make it into my backlog. But there was nothing that was like, holy shit, pencils down, like this is happening soon and it's going to break the bank.
Yeah, I think
So
I think Rise of Ronin will be fun, but it's for me, it's definitely one of those like I'll probably wait until they give that away for free on PlayStation Plus.
yeah, or if everyone's talking about it and it's a great game and it goes on a sale, then
Yeah,
sure, maybe. But it's not like I liked it. I think I was just more happy that like there was nothing that like just took my breath away at like multiple games that were just like holy shit. Like it was just I don't know, little bits of like that looked really cool. Like I mean, I'm trying to be as positive as I can about most of it, but I mean, with between Judas and Death Stranding 2 and I mean Death Stranding, those 3 games are officially in the backlog. And I've got to go through a would you consider it a like a messenger simulator? You said you were like just delivering packages for 20 hours of the game. So I've got
For
that
the
to look forward
beginning,
to.
the first 20 hours, yeah.
I don't know.
But mhm.
And also like I'm I kind of want to unpack a little bit of your thoughts about Kojima because I'm interested because I'm not super I don't know a whole lot. I like sideline a lot of the Kojima stuff where I'm like, hey, look at that. That's cool. And like, oh, that's interesting. You got fired from Silent Hills. What the fuck is going on with that? And then move on to like uh just some of the um stuff that was coming out around the time they were talking about Death Stranding. Like I don't know. I recognize that he probably does have a crazy cult following, but I don't know anything about it.
I mean, I guess what sums up a lot of my like distaste with Kojima is that if you didn't know any better, you would think that he made all these games of years by himself with absolutely no help.
Yeah.
And it's not clear to me like what he does at the studio. Like a lot of it's like, okay, he had the idea of the studio, but I'm like, you don't hear anything but about him. And I am like on Twitter a lot,
Mhm.
and we watch a lot of video essays, and I know you guys do too. But I watched a lot on Hideo Kojima, and just seeing people comment and just being like, "Oh my god, the dude's a genius! It's always he's a genius, he's a genius." And they got him at the Game Awards, and it's like they might as well just build a little shrine over to him for the Game Awards, and like, here's the 20-minute Kojima presentation, and I'm just like, I don't get it. He makes great games, but I'm just like. But it's
Which
like,
of his
okay,
games are like what's his most known game? Like I know he
Metal
did
Gear
Silent
Solid.
Hill,
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear
Metal Gear
Solid.
Solid.
That's such a niche. Like the people that are into Metal Gear Solid like praise it too, like it's the best thing ever as well. Like the people that are like, I know
I mean,
a few people that are like they talk about Metal Gear Solid and it's the greatest thing of all time, which could be. I don't know a whole lot about those games, but it seems like he's built like the perfect like fan base to just put him on that pedestal because
Yeah.
he didn't make no crazy bit other than like Silent Hill and Metal Gear Solid. Like it's not like he made Halo. You don't see them. You don't see people putting the people at Bungie or other companies like that on a pedestal where they're like the face, like Todd Howard. You know, like
exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Brandon?
I was
Because I
gonna
know you
say,
were like the Metal Gear game. I know
I'm,
you were like the Metal Gear games.
yeah, I love them, and like Metal Gear Solid 4 was like one of the first, like
Hmm.
probably one of the first like narrative games like I really finished, like back on PlayStation 3. Like it was one of those where like there's like some like fever dream sections in it too, where it's like the one thing about that game that really stood out, it says there are like cinematic sections that last like an hour or more. And there's like even one of them where like you're kind of like flipping through channels on a TV where it could go on for like 4 hours unless you like interrupt it or skip it. Like if, but yeah, and it's always like weird choices like that with him. Like that's just they don't always make sense. Where like that happened, and then just the whole concept around Death Stranding, where it's like like mysterious for the sake of being mysterious, like not necessarily a lot of substance behind it all the time. But like I really, like I said, I really love Metal Gear Solid, and but yeah, I've never followed him to the point of like just worshiping anything he puts out. Um, it definitely is a little too much. Like even the way they did the state of play. So like they show Death Stranding and that's slated for next year. And obviously they're not going to mention it on their show, but the next game he's working on after that is an Xbox exclusive. But at the same time, mentioned that development on his next project with Sony is going to start right after Death Stranding. So it's like I don't know if Death Stranding and the Xbox exclusive are being worked on like side by side or simultaneously or whatever. But it did like that announcement of like, oh, the next game I'm working on, it's something big, but I can't really say anything, but it's going to be big, and then it like zooms out to like the studio or whatever. It's like I said, it's like grandiose, like I don't know, just masturbatory
They,
almost to an extent of just like, oh, this is big, but just because of who it is, and that's it. I don't know. I've never bought into that, but
I
I
think they showcased him a little bit because he had that quote is like 2 years from now I'll celebrate my 40th anniversary of my game production career. I'm confident that this title will be the culmination of my work, talking about Death Stranding 2. So like They might be like showcasing him just because he's been in the industry for a while. Maybe he's working really hard on this game. Taking the sitting aside the notion about like how people just praise this guy. But I mean, if they're gonna showcase someone that's been in the industry for a long time, that's working on like something that's a big deal, that's got a lot of money pumped into it and a big cast, that they're saying is going to be like what they said, that it's an interactive game, but it's also a movie at the same time in terms of look, story, theme, cast, acting, fashion, and sound. With this title, we hope to transcend the barriers between film and video games. So it seems like they're really trying to do something big with this game that maybe we just don't fully understand yet. That
If I'm not mistaken, the same thing was said
I think
about the
Death
Xbox
Stranding, though.
exclusive.
what
What's
is it?
that? Yeah, they did. Well, that's another good point.
Like,
Brandon, I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I'm guessing you got that quote from what they showed yesterday.
That yeah, I wrote down what they
Like,
said, what they were saying at the end of it.
like I'm pretty sure. Like, let me look it up real quick. But um, I'm pretty sure that's the
What they said
same
about the other
exact
thing.
thing. It's the same exact thing as what he said about the Xbox game.
That's
I
great.
think you're right, Brandon, while you're looking that up. And the other thing is they said the same thing about Death Stranding before it ever came out. Now, here's my thing is my problem, my gripe with Hideo Kojima is not the games, right? So I think his studios produce great games and stuff. It's just that like before Death Stranding was even announced, like as soon as Sony dried the ink that they were working with him on Death Stranding, like what, 5, 6 years ago now, they like publicized it and mentioned it, like we're working with Hideo Kojima on a game, and then like went on the most pretentious like 2 year journey just to figure out what graphics engine he wanted to use. And then it was like, here's a logo, poop your pants, and here's the thing, we feel that way about a lot of games, like anything from like if it was Bloodborne 2 and stuff like that. But you don't have this constant media coverage of the creator of
Yeah,
it always just getting, they're just, there's nothing non-crude I can say to make an analogy to it, but they're just always putting him on a pedestal, and I feel like he puts himself on one, and that's just my perception based off of the stuff I've seen. But yeah,
it seems like he suffered a pretty bad falling out with Konami, so he was like, "Fuck y'all, you're not gonna quit hearing my name."
Yeah.
It's like over promoting the next game, riding the coattails of PT, trying to like bring that hype because there was so much excitement behind it. Those dreams get crushed. All right, now we got to build up this totally different thing, and I've got to sell it to people. So it's like almost like, I don't know. Maybe
well,
it
no, I think,
coincided, maybe it didn't.
yeah, I think on the other hand, I think that he knows, like he's aware that he's kind of built that image, right? And he just uses it to market his products, and he uses it for the good of making the game sell and getting people excited and building a bunch of hype. It just can come across as like way too much sometimes, like Brandon, like you were
Yeah.
saying, it's like this next game is gonna just change how people look at video games. Like that's what they said about Death Stranding, and it ended up coming out and it's like, oh, it's a really cool, weird game that a lot of people have a hard time connecting with, but
Mhm.
pretty good at the end of the day,
But I
you
don't think.
know?
I mean, like I haven't played it, but I mean, I don't know that the landscape's really changed because of it. So yeah, it's kind of hard to. It's kind of hard to like buy into that hype. Now that because like you said, the same thing was kind of said about Death Stranding, and like I said, it got hype. It got a lot of press. It definitely did something different, but I don't know that it changed the industry in any way.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think I'm probably just falling into the trap. Honestly, it's either you're praising his name and getting it out there and getting hype built, or he's still getting you to talk to him by being like, yeah, I'm not really into how he carries himself and stuff like that. So it's like, good for you, man. Mission accomplished. Um, but yeah, I just don't think it's. I don't. I just think there's so many other developers in games. Like if the people who are making Judas said, like, here's Ken Levine and he wants to talk to you. And Ken Levine was like, this is really going to push, you know, it's going to be hard for people to get their head around the story we're going to tell. I'd be eating it up, and I think it would be well earned too. I think it'd be like, yeah, BioShock blew my mind, all of them, you know. So I guess that's my point. But they don't do that for Judas. They don't do that for Elden Ring or for next Bloodborne 2 or even Dragon's Dogma, which is going to be a great game. So anyway, that's just where it rubs me the wrong way. So
I get it. There's definitely more developers that could utilize that spotlight to talk up their games, and maybe just don't or aren't given the opportunity to, or not taking it seriously. And it does seem like he has some sort of pull to like just, I don't know, definitely got Sony wrapped around his fucking finger.
Oh, he does, and I think it'll be a great game. But like on a more positive note, I would love to see, who is it? Is it Tetsuya Nomura who directed Final Fantasy? He was art character designer. I want to say on the Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 7, and then he's producer on this one and stuff. Like, where are those guys talking about?
They definitely don't get the amount of press. Like, Tetsuya Nomura's been in headlines recently. I can't remember why, but he's something due to the fact that he's just been doing it for so long. But yeah, it doesn't help that like Hideo Kojima he's got all that, and then he comes on, he looks like the coolest 6-year-old man you've ever seen in your life. He does. You strive to look as cool as this guy with his like popped collar that looks straight out of a fucking Final Fantasy game. He looks like a Final Fantasy character.
Yeah, I got this quote here. It says, so we finally gotten our first proper look at OD, Hideo Kojima's exclusive collaboration with Xbox Game Studios using cloud technology. It says the trailer is enigmatic and brief, but it still sets a terrifying tone, as it was revealed that Kojima is working with horror legend Jordan Peele to bring OD to life. And this is where it's similar. Kojima has said that OD blends the borders between video games and cinema, and I can't wait to experience it. And that was like December 7th, so a month and a half ago, and it's like the same thing being said about this as whatever his next project is after Death Stranding 2. That's supposed to be PlayStation exclusive, so it's like
he's playing both sides. It just makes me think that like
wouldn't that be something to just like release like 2 games that are exclusive to each console, but they end up being like
groundbreaking,
like the same thing though, like maybe just something, maybe just like one small change to each one.
It seems like it's his goal to make games that do that. I mean, that's kind of how they've all been. They've all like with as much technology that you've got at the time, with even the older games, like he's trying to make something that's like different than everything, and really trying to like bend what rules that people think they have when it comes to making a game. So he's like, talking everything up in that way. It just doesn't help that like he is like getting so much more time to be in headlines about every one of them, rather than like Ken Levine. You don't see him coming out and making too many statements about, like, I did screenshot something he did say, but like, I don't know. Other game developers and like heads of companies deserve that too. And I would like to see it happen for more people, and not just Kojima, because then it probably wouldn't stain whenever he does make a statement, or he's showcased like he was today, where you're like, oh, this guy again. It'd been like if Todd Howard was announcing another way they're gonna put out Skyrim. Like, why do they let this guy talk? I don't know.
Yeah, that's
but
an opposite view on it.
It does seem like it's just that is his goal with making games. Is just making a game that's super cutting edge and different, and builds some sort of crazy cult following, and everyone worships everything he does after that.
That's like the one difference though with like Todd Howard, where like at least with Todd Howard, he's like pretty
likable.
Yeah, he's like likable and like pretty straightforward of like, okay, here's what we're working on. Elder Scrolls 6
Mhm.
is 6 years away. Like Fallout
They haven't
5's
said that.
Fallout 5's like, well, I'm talking about like when the initial
I
trailer.
know. I was making more of the joke that they've like mentioned Elder Scrolls 6 and all they showed was like a landscape
Yeah.
flyover
Yeah.
and then we're like just
Pre-rendered.
gone.
And
That
then
never happened.
Yeah.
I can't remember what he was on most recently, but it was something along the lines of like, oh, like
Uh
with Starfield. Like,
Skyrim board game.
no, there was an interview he did with like Starfield and everything,
Okay.
where it's like, okay, at this point, a couple of years have passed. Starfield's been released. Elder Scrolls 6 is probably still 3 to 4 years away. And like he's pretty like straightforward that Fallout 5 is still like another 4 or 5 years after that. And it's like so at least straightforward, but like
Yeah.
with Kojima right now, it's like okay, he's got Death Stranding coming up, he's got this Xbox exclusive, and I did the one different thing that's been noted is that the Xbox exclusive seems to be more horror related, whereas the PlayStation exclusive is more espionage. So,
Yeah.
but altogether, that's like 3 games he's working on at once. And to what Nick was saying earlier, it's like yeah, he's getting credit for all this, but if 3 games are being worked on at once, then that's not all him. Obviously, he's got a team behind him, but like
Who are they?
how can he even be involved with all 3 at once and
Who are
be
they?
and be able to like give each one of them the proper amount of time and then still
Yeah.
take all this masturbatory like credit for it of like I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think at this point, he's made some amazing games, as director and deserves to be recognized for that. And I just think that part of the trap with how they market his games is to market him rather than the game. Let the art speak for itself. Let the product speak for yourself. Instead, it's like, oh, it's Hideo Kojima. It's Hideo Kojima. It's Hideo. Like, why don't you tell me more about the features of the game, right? A little bit more about like what inspired you. But it's like, yeah, it's just all this mystery and like, yeah, when we started developing it, we looked at puddles of water. And we just it's just like this really like what are you talking about? Like come on, like the point you guys made about Ken Levine is Levine is really not Ken Levine, the gentleman at Bethesda. Who's
Todd
that?
Howard.
Todd Howard?
Rod
Yeah.
Howard.
Yeah, like he's really down to earth, right? And
Mhm.
I just think that's what's missing from it. I just get sick of seeing it with Hideo Kojima. But on that note, I was something you made me think of, Barrett, just back to State of Play. I mentioned that I was a little disappointed. That's only because I always have my dream announcements in there, Bloodborne 2 or Bloodborne Remaster or something. But or whatever
Mhm.
my favorite game series is at the time, just hoping there's some kind of announcement towards that. We didn't get a lot of those. But I think y'all made a great point about Final Fantasy. You both mentioned Final Fantasy, and I think what I realized is that like that's probably the biggest game of the year. Like
Yeah.
traditionally, you would see that released in like November, and they would just market the hell out of it. Every time you're on YouTube or on your phone, there's a commercial for it, and it's like, oh, this is the big game we're going to push for the holidays. And maybe they wanted to do that 2023, but it just needed a bit more development. So, and it'd be too long to push it a whole year out to release it when it's ready. So I'm really excited we're getting it in February, but that's a little bit of a weird time to get a game that big. But I guess the point I was trying to make is we're getting the biggest game of the year probably for all of us, like right at the beginning of the year. And I don't
Mhm.
know if there's anything that they could announce for this year, right? Um, that would really that could really like blow that out of the water. So maybe
Well,
that's
that's gonna
something to
be.
realize.
I know you don't have much longer, Nick, till you've got a hard cutoff in about 13 minutes. So
Yeah.
as a final question, final topic, game something that didn't make the list. What
Oh, I
game do
love
you
this.
hope is like gonna happen? What's our holiday AAA game or holiday, release that you really want 2024 this year?
That hold on, can I ask quite like that we think will come out or just pie in the sky? Like, are we doing a
Both
realistic guess?
dream and actuality. I want both.
Okay. Well, I don't have mine yet.
I've got
You,
something.
I mean,
I've
you
got
said
something real quick.
Bloodborne 2, and I mean, if they announce anything from Software for this holiday, it would be great. That would be awesome. Like an Elden Ring. What's the Elden
Has
Ring expansion
has
and
I was gonna
DLC?
say, is the
No, we'll
DLC
get
came
that
out
though.
yet?
No, but I know we will get it this year. Like, I strongly believe the DLC will come out this year. So I don't feel like that's, I
It,
feel like it's going to come out like midway through the year. But so I don't think that would count as like that big holiday hope that
Well,
that could happen.
okay, I was about to say, like, what's your hook? Because I know, like, for example, like you were wanting you've mentioned it a few times, the Spider-Man 2 New Game Plus. Like, it could be something
Okay,
like that.
yeah.
Like, what do you
Okay,
want out
so
of this year that didn't make the list
that better
that
be
could
before the
happen by the end of the
holiday
year?
at this point.
yeah. So, okay, but no, I get your point though. So for me, like, Silk Song, the second Hollow Knight game, I
Okay.
want that this year, and I believe it could come out this year. They've been I don't know if y'all played the first Hollow Knight, but I adore that game, and I've been waiting for the sequel to that. Like, huge hype in our house for it. So that would be the game that I think can come out, that probably will come out this year. That I'm super excited for. My pie in the sky, like, probably won't happen, but I would just be nuts over the Bloodborne remake. I doubt, like, or sequel, but that would, we haven't even gotten an
Just
announcement. How are we going to
or
get a
just a
sequel?
free
But
PS5 upgrade that slides under the radar.
yeah,
You can be nice.
just something. Just, it could be that. It could just be, here's some bumped up little features and faster load times and
Hmm.
sharper graphics. The glitches, or not glitches, but like the older visuals are just cleaned up a bit. That would be happy. That'd be great for me. So yeah, those are mine, I guess.
Brandon, you got one?
Well, for me, like, it's more pie in the sky because I know it's definitely not going to be this year. 'Cause like I said, I've already mentioned uh, Spider-Man, and I hope that's before. That should be before the holidays. Like, that should be more like like early summer, maybe late summer. But more pie in the sky. Like, I know it's not going to be this year, and just to kind of piggyback on another person y'all mentioned earlier about Tetsuya Nomura, like, one of the other games he worked on, and it's not one I've personally played, but I've seen a lot about it through YouTube, is back before he worked on Kingdom Hearts, I guess it was. He was an artist for a game called Parasite's Eve
Hmm.
that was, I think it was, I don't know if how much like release it got in North America, but it came out around the same time on PS1 as like Resident Evil and Silent Hill. But and then a few years ago, like Bring Me the Horizon wrote a song, released a single that was like based on the game. So I'd like to see like a remake of it because I know from what I've seen, it's like a mix of like Final Fantasy VII and Resident Evil, where it's got like the horror aspects of Resident Evil, but more of the combat of Final Fantasy VII. Like, I I could be mistaken, but from what I've seen, it was like one of the first one of if not the first, but it was one of the first uses of the what was it called, the ATB, the active time bar that like
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy uses. So if like there was like any like pie in the sky, like it would be that remake. Because it was from Square Enix too. So I mean, it's possible.
Uh, I'll then continuing with Square. I would love some sort of tease. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But with the cliffhanger that is Kingdom Hearts 3, tell me something about what's happening next. You know, even if it's just like, it would have been great to happen for like State of Play, but it's probably they would probably showcase that as something way bigger, like
Mhm.
either Square Enix's own thing or some big event. But I would love to see what's like Kingdom Hearts 4. Show me, you know, that it's even just if it's happening and we don't get it for another 10 years, like it happened with 3. But like all we have to go on is, I'm not trying to spoil anything, but like the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 is just like, well, there's gonna be another one, even though they said there wasn't gonna be, and that's all we know. So that's my pie in the sky, would be just mention something about it, you know. My thing that could happen, should happen, would be a fully downloadable version / physical version of Kingdom Hearts for the Switch, and take that cloud shit off the store, and
Yeah.
like let me actually have that game handheld and own it. That would be like, I would actually buy it, and probably at full price. If I could get the whole thing, I would buy it just to have a full physical collection of Kingdom Hearts on the Switch, to have it handheld.
Before that was released, like that was like the one game I was like, man, these would be perfect for the Switch. Like just
Mhm.
not only from like just the like the art direction of it, but like the fact that it's like Disney characters. So it's like, what perfect way to get younger kids into this and put it on the Switch. And then
Mhm.
like it came out and it was like cloud versions. I'm like, okay, well they just lost everybody, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what you're buying if you end up buying into that. That's what sucks.
But to add on what you
Um,
were saying, I think like story perspective, I know I still got 2 games to play, but like what they did with like the teaser for 4 is kind of like one of my bigger pet peeves on stuff. It's like I would rather like nothing be announced until it's ready than to show a teaser like that. And that was what, a year ago
mhm.
probably. And
A
it's like
little more, I
What
think, but yeah,
what game?
Kingdom Hearts
Kingdom Hearts
4.
3?
Oh, 4.
Four?
it's 4.
But you're talking about the secret ending, or you're talking about the teaser trailer they
The
showed?
teaser. Like I would rather
They
like
showed the
Oh, okay, I
they
got you.
because it
Yeah.
pans through different worlds at one point, and it like at one point pans
Hmm.
through what looks like Endor,
Yeah,
and there's a fucking
I believe it
AT-AT
is.
foot clearly right there.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've said all this to mention Star Wars, because God, I want that to happen. Like they've
Yeah.
already shown me it's probably gonna happen. So just tell me it's happening,
It's like
so I can wrap my brain around it,
so I'm just going
and
to go
to
ahead and
tell
say
like untold Star Wars stories through Kingdom Hearts. Like, oh,
we're probably going to
oh.
get a lightsaber keyblade. But but on
Uh,
like what I was
Nerdgasm.
saying, I was like that was like shown like so long ago, and there's been like it's been like radio silent ever since.
Yeah.
It's like,
Which is
Hmm.
that was Kingdom Hearts 3's whole story whenever they announced it at E3 2013.
but it's like
I mean,
either wait until you're ready, or at least schedule it out to where you can sprinkle stuff out over time. But like, don't show us something and then just not say a damn word.
Square Enix. Definition, what you just said. Final Fantasy VII Remake was like the biggest rumor of all time, like up there with Half-Life 3, you know, like
Dude,
it just, and then they release it, and then the whole thing about like how it's going to be in 3 parts and how far those are spread apart, and it's just their
it
style
took
to
me
like put you on a fucking
yeah.
cliffhanger and make you wait, dangle it in front of you a
Man,
little bit.
with their games, when you have that much hype and they come out, there's like a week of having it where you're just like in disbelief that it even came. Like Kingdom Hearts 3,
Yeah,
I couldn't believe I was playing it, like loading it
yeah.
up. I was like, is this really happening? Like I've
Hmm.
been waiting how long for Kingdom Hearts 3? Like 2 console generations? Like I didn't
I
have
felt that
kids.
too, and was even crazier that I was playing it on an Xbox. I
Oh
got it on
man,
Xbox
yeah.
One
I did
first.
too. I did too. Well, I think we got it on both, but yeah. I think That's how
You
I
said
feel
you
about
didn't
Final
have
Fantasy
kids
VII.
whenever, like you're talking about
When
whenever it came out,
2
like
ended,
when you got
well,
it.
no, like
Mm,
when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, I didn't have kids, so I finished that wherever I had kids. But then, you know, the talk of Kingdom Hearts 3 began happening. So within that expanse of time between not having kids and having kids, the game was
Your kids are
released.
being
The wait,
raised with the myth of Kingdom Hearts 3. Like it might
yes,
happen, may not happen. When I
exactly.
was growing up, these were the biggest, craziest games of all time.
Exactly. Well, I still feel that way about Final Fantasy VII. I'm still like in disbelief because they talked about the remakes for so long,
Mhm,
and everyone speculated that by the time they came out, still I'm like, this is so awesome. We have this. Like,
mhm,
I can't believe this got made. It got made as well as it did, and we're still hyped for it, and it's still releasing.
mhm.
So
Well,
yeah,
guys,
pretty
I know, Nick, you've only got a minute here left before you
yeah.
got to
Thank
go.
you.
Before I sign off real quick, I just want to say, mention. I guess we're planning on Silent Hill playthrough on Sunday. We've got
Yep.
the Final Fantasy um, State of Play on Tuesday. I just finished Final Fantasy VII Remake, so over the weekend I'm gonna play Intermission because I've got a lot to say and a lot of questions for you guys about that, so we can kind of make that whole Tuesday session a Final Fantasy. Um, Want to have some YouTube our past episodes start going up on YouTube this weekend. So anybody that's watching, keep an eye out for that. Yeah, I just want to get that news out there before we have to sign off.
It's awesome, man. Thank you.
All right,
It was
peace
fun to
out.
talk about this, guys.
Yep,
It was.
Good
It was.
Sash.
conversation.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. All right, peace out, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a good
See you
night.
guys.